Good afternoon. Today is Sunday, October 27th, 2024, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in the past week and where it could potentially go in the So this week, price kind of came down a little bit. It ranged quite a bit. I did mention last week that we would probably retrace back down to about 65,000 before continuing on to the upside. So that did end up happening. We tapped somewhere around like 6,500, maybe 65,200 maybe. And we'll look at that on the lower chart, but really this isn't surprising at all. I mean, we had a major push, so this is kind of a pause. And again, you also have the election coming up in the next 2 weeks or so. So about 2 weeks from now, you will have the election, and it's going to be interesting for sure, one way or another. And actually, it's not even 2 weeks. I think it's next week, the 2nd or the 5th, somewhere in there. So we're not far away. Like I said, it's the 27th right now. So the elections are right around the corner. And the thing is, there are a lot of people that are holding money on the sidelines until after the election, just so they can see which way that policy is going to go. And when that happens, and I think there's actually a federal funds rate release 2 days after the election, that's going to send this market to the upside, because the Federal Reserve has pretty much already committed to continuing to lower interest rates, at least for the next year or so. But we'll see how that goes. We will see. So this is the weekly chart. As we can see, we had our major downward motion that we were in for about 7 months. But this is the breakout, the retest, and then now the next move should be to the upside, which lines up, again, perfectly with everything that's going on politically at this point, too. So it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. So we can go on to having this major trend. And then I said, like this, we had this bull flag for so long. I started talking about this bull flag in early March of this year. Once I realized that this wasn't quite a range and that it was going to be down swooping just a bit, it ended up looking like a bull flag, and that ended up being correct. So it shot up past this area outside the channel. It did come back down to what I thought. I said about 65,000. So somewhere in there. Yeah, so right about 65,000 it came down to, and then it looks like now it's just going to continue to go on up. So we will see how that ends up shaking out. You could revisit this area once or twice more. You never know. I think maybe next week it probably will revisit this area, and then the following week, well, no, next week there's no election. The following week there's an election, and then after that you should see some type of major movement. If I had any type of prediction at this point, but again, we'll see. It's the weekly chart. Let's look at the daily chart. If we look at it, there's a bit of a trend line here. Draw a trend line right there after one tap, and that kind of lines up with the moving averages as well. So let's say potentially we come back down here at this point. Even if I come directly down, that would get you back down to 63,000. But again, we couldn't even hit 65,000 at this point. So I think it'll come maybe to here at this point, and then continue on to the upside, maybe another test of this area before breaching onto an all-time high. Gonna be interesting for sure. But at this point, we broke this high, we broke this high, and made a new high in this area. And actually, did we almost got above the body close, but we almost got above this as well. So yeah, I think all this area down here is like, we're not visiting this again. It's just not going to happen realistically at this point. There's too much demand pent up. It's been a long time coming for sure, and you could kind of draw that line there. But if we look at it, let's just look at the moving averages. So monthly is above the price is above the moving average. Weekly price is above the moving average. Daily price is above the moving average. 4 hour ever so slightly above the moving average, but I mean that does mean that it should send it up, especially after a double tap here of the 100 moving average. 100, yeah, 1 hour is above. 15 minutes should be above. 5 minutes above. Yeah, 5 minutes above on all of them, and even 1 minute is above all the moving averages. But we're waiting for that to close up. Overall, it looks pretty good, and I don't really have any concerns there. So moving on to the news for the week. So we are currently at the 27th. If we look at the 29th, there's not much here until the end of the week. You have non-farm employment change, so that's your NFP. That should be pretty big news coming in on Friday. Just seeing what those numbers end up being. They're forecasting 111 from the previous 254, so that's interesting. That's I don't know if that's low or if that's seasonal for this time of year, but who knows. No news here. Presidential election is this day. So I mean there'll be early voting going into all of this, but presidential election is on the 5th, and then the 7th you have the federal funds rate. So going into the end of this week and then pretty much all of next week is going to be super news heavy until we figure out who the president is going to be, and see who also the congressional elections. I mean, all this stuff is happening too. There's several elections happening, and then figure out what the fund rates are going to be. And once that's over, it should be a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Thanksgiving for everyone involved. I think at that point there's not really anything left to say. It's just it's go time at that point. So that's news this week. Again, nothing much this week, but nothing much until the end of this week. But going through the end of next week, that will be pretty news intensive. This is something that came out this week on CNBC. Paul Tudor Jones, he is one of the original market wizards, one of the best hedge fund managers who have ever graced Wall Street. But he was on the news and he started talking about the state of the economy and thoughts on the election and just his overall economic outlook. And what he came to the conclusion was all roads lead to inflation. These were his words. And he is long on Bitcoin and gold, so hard assets. Basically, the U.S. government debt in deficits is just too much for what he likes to see. It's not going anywhere. There's no way that we can pay it off. And it doesn't really matter who wins the presidency, and that's true. That's absolutely true. This is not anything that one president can fix, because it's not something that happened over the course of 4 years or 3 years. This has been a long building thing. So he is long Bitcoin and gold. I mean, when the best hedge fund managers in the world are saying that this, and they're turning their heads, and actually, I think he was talking about Bitcoin in like 2020 and 2021 as well. Called it like the fastest horse. So it's something to note for sure. Another thing this week, Microsoft to consider Bitcoin investment in December, despite board opposition. So the board said that it's already weighed on the opinion on the option of investing in Bitcoin and discouraged December's vote. So it sounds like it's on the ballot and it's on the vote, but the fact that it's even being put out there, the fact that it's even put in the news, whether they pass this or not, is significant, because you end up having these corporations and these companies who are now, they have billions and billions of dollars at their disposal to invest in different assets. And if they choose Bitcoin, then that could be significant for the entire space. So I think corporate FOMO is something that people are not entirely prepared for. But we'll see. All right, last thing I want to talk about is the Bitcoin spiral clock. So I looked at this earlier this week. And this is an excellent chart. I mean, I've seen the spiral clock before, but I haven't seen it marked up in this manner. It's an excellent chart. Basically, what you end up having is basically the halving occurs at 12 o'clock. If this is a clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then all the way to 12. The halving happens at exactly 0 hours, 12 o'clock, and the peak from what it's, so the halving is orange, the top of the peak is green, the mid peak is yellow, and then the bottom is red. So it looks like here the market peaked in this is like the 2011 peak, this 2013 peak, and this 2017 and 2021. If you look at this, 430 seems to be a significant time, because both of these in the last two cycles have peaked around this time. Even if you average where these end up landing, it ends up being about 4 o'clock or 4:30. So if we're here at this point, we're at like 1:30, and I don't know how far each one of these is a block, right? This isn't measured in time; it's measured in blocks. So if we're at block 866.25, whatever that is, and then we have to get to 918 for this block, then suddenly, I mean, that kind of gives you a good outlook of when you should be getting out or when things are peaking. That's the cool part about Bitcoin. It's programmed. So it's not necessarily just to the whims of the traders on Wall Street, but it is available to everyone, and we can all see this data. This is data that anyone can pull. But I guess Yasser was maybe the one who did this. I'm not sure who exactly got credit for this one, but and then you see even the bottoms are lined up quite a bit too. So like at 7:30, at these major intersections and these cross points, you have like the market bottoming around here. So this area might be a good time to continue buying up at the best fair value price, or closer to the realized price, I should say. But it's just interesting how this ends up laying out. So like I said, you have the peak somewhere around here, maybe a mid peak somewhere in this area at 3 o'clock, and then 4:30, and then 7:30. These are significant times. As well as 12 o'clock. But you can see we're slowly inching that direction. And it's not like all the action happens right here. It's like this is the action part as we approach this area, and interest builds up. So that's pretty much it. That's all I got for this week. This has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out any crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com. Join the Pulse on Crypto Discord, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.